I want to explain something that if family business understand that it could increase the survival rate many 100%. Oh, there is social media, you'll be dead. Or now ChatGPT, like people call me, oh, I'm so sorry that you're dead soon, something like that. So in the early 2000s, we thought like, okay, the internet might kill us. But as a family business, we thought, okay, but what could be a brick and mortar business that could save us? And so we started with kindergartens and schools. And now we're the second largest private provider of kindergartens in Germany, and both worked out, the publishing and but it was the idea of survival, and Finland somehow took me away. So we bought the Kaurismäki complete edition. If you, as a family member, want to have a career within the Klett Group, work for other companies for several years.
Hello there. I have David Klett from the Klett Group here as a visitor. Great to have you here.
Sami, it's great being here.
Yeah, you come from all the way from Stuttgart, right? And your position is in the management board of this Klett Group, but I'm really interested in how you have structured a family-owned company so that you can manage the shareholder conflicts coming from that. So this is really the topic of the discussion today, but perhaps could you tell a little bit about what does the Klett Group do?
I can. So the Klett Group is a family business, so it's not by accident that this is my name. It's the name of my great-grandfather who founded it 127 years ago. Everything we do is education. So core was publishing. After the Second World War, we started with textbooks. And this business developed very, very well. And from there, we expanded into other countries. And later, we also started with running our own kindergartens and schools and universities of applied sciences. So today, around 11,000 people are working for us in 25 countries. Half of the business is publishing, and the other half is running education institutions.
But it's not only Germany, it's a number of countries, including Finland, where you have the presence, so a global group.
Yeah, global sounds cool, but it's so far we're quite strong in Europe already, not in all European countries, but in many, especially in Eastern Europe. We managed to build publishing houses or buy and build publishing houses that are covering the whole range of subjects. And so in Serbia, or Croatia, Bulgaria, Romania, Slovenia, we are like one of the leading publishers aiming at the whole K-12 market.
Yeah, so a little bit comparable to Sanoma, but not that much.
It's I guess we compare ourselves sometimes with Sanoma. I don't know if Sanoma is aware so much, but of course we look at what they're doing because they're doing a great job, I think, and they don't do much mistakes. There's actually one country where we really meet, and that's the Netherlands. Yeah.
Yeah, that's but they have lowered their presence there. They used to be in the magazines there a big way. But they publish here in the Helsingin Sanomat, which is the biggest daily newspaper. That's interesting. So family office and family company, and it's now 100. How many years it was?
27.
Yeah, so that probably is like a 4.5 generations or something like that.
Yeah, I think I'd be the fourth generation, but there's already a generation 5 and 6 on the way. So we're more than 40 shareholders, and some are 3 years old and others are 86 years old.
Yeah, so it starts to get a lot of minority shareholders who still feel family name or have a different family name but are part of the bigger family, and you start having problems organizing the annual general meetings. So it starts to be a little bit. Here in Finland we have this asuntosakeyhtiö, which is the limited liability company for your house. So if you have like 50 families and then they are governed by this board, then you start having very interesting general meetings where people fight about should we build this house on this way or that way or in a block. So, but you have managed to find a unique way how to structure these shareholder conflicts. And this is important for Finland. I have had many episodes where I complain that we don't have enough equity or ownership in Finland, and part of that is we have this inheritance tax, but then people really struggle with the ways to hand over the keys to the next generation, especially if the management of the company is split from the owners or the family to outside CEOs. So I guess that's a little bit those things you have found a solution for both of the problems.
I mean, you said unique. I don't know if it's unique, but I think we're doing quite okay. So I feel that we found a good model to deal with a growing family. So what I often hear when it comes to family businesses, that it's said that the more shareholders, the more complicated it will get. Wouldn't it be great to just have a few and then they can meet and make great decisions? I have the opposite opinion. I feel like if you have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 shareholders, one single shareholder can create a lot of mess, right? And if it can block decision making. So I feel for us it was the right way to expand. It's not that I decided that. My father, his brother, and his cousin, they decided at a certain point, as being the third generation, to distribute their shares amongst all their children, not only the active ones, as it was in the generations before. So from that very moment on, the circle of shareholders exploded. And we had to overcome a certain struggle. I will get to that later, but I'm just saying where we are today. We are now a large group, and we're organized very well. And this group of shareholders contains a lot of potential. So we have family members that are active in the business, not many, because the rules are quite strict for those who want to enter the business and have a career there. But there is a lot of more stuff to do in and around the family, like being in the family council. I could explain what that is, or working in the board of directors, and also in the family foundation. So I would see a growing family first and foremost as a pool of potential, where those who want to work and contribute can come in and help the family business and the shareholding family to thrive and to develop.
But 40 people, you can still squeeze that in a big restaurant, so it's still manageable. So it's not like a public shareholding company. So, but it starts to approach that. And but
depends
I guess
on how active we are in reproducing. For now, it's looking okay, but I think it will take some time until we're there.
Yeah. Nice meeting your family. And by the way, as a side notice, I understand you have now family ties to Thailand. So I did one episode on the silicon chip industry in Finland and with Augmetics guy Seikku. So I'm planning to do a new one. So I guess you actually open for contacts on that area in the Asian business. So
yeah, the Asian. I mean, now you could think that Klett already threw an eye on the Asian markets. I would like that. I think the explanation is that my wife's Thai, and she is owner and CEO of the largest, most interesting, most beautiful children's book publisher in Thailand.
Yeah,
publishing Harry Potter there, and I guess that's why.
Yeah, my wife in WSOY also is publishing the Harry Potter, so there.
And using the covers of my wife come from Thailand, which is we found out this morning.
Perfect. But as an aside, it's just an episode I will do, so we'll share contacts on that one. So if we zoom in the structure, so you have the shareholders, and I'm guessing they have a very well thought of shareholders agreement, and everybody has to abide with it. If they don't, they have to sell their shares. Am I correct?
Yes, that is an element of it. So let's see how I can explain this in simple words. So first, the struggle is that families are not born to organize stuff. I think that's the first thing that we understood, that normally when you have a family, families are not built to decide stuff. You know, like, I don't know, when you have a normal family and they're sitting around the kitchen table, it's even hard to make a decision on where to go for holidays. Yeah. Better to have the parents make the decisions. So families are not a life form that is well designed and equipped for making good decisions. So what we understood as a family, that we said, okay, we got to learn that, and we have to give ourselves the right structures and the right rules to make good decisions. And we learned this over the years. So what happens is that all my family members with shares are part of or own part of the company, are part of a partnership. And what they do is that they elect out of the circle of shareholders the family council. So these are 5 people, and they vote per head. So if you have 5 people, you have always a majority if you have to decide on stuff. And what the shareholders do is they delegate most of their rights, as far as is possible by German law, on these 5 people, this elected council. And the job of the council is then, first and foremost, to take care of the family. Like, do they take care of all the tax issues, inheritance tax, for instance? Do they have the right marriage contracts? Do they write the right will? What is about exit tax, which is a terrible thing actually for family business owners, because when you move to another country, then you might be taxed heavily, stuff like that. So there is a whole range of things we have to take care of as a family council. So that was the first most important thing to understand. Okay, if you are a large shareholding family, someone has to take care of all the legal yada yada and all the other problems you can come across as a family. Education, also part of it. Training the young generation, learning about the Klett Group. What is it? How do we hold ourselves in the public and towards other people? How to be a good owner. How to execute your rights as an owner in the right way. All this kind of stuff has to be organized. We do it as the family council. Maybe most of our time as family council. I'm part of it. That's why I'm presenting it that way. The other thing is the job of the family council is to elect the supervisory board, the board of directors. So what you see already is that we as a family already built something like a firewall between us and the business, in the sense that we elect a board that is most of the time dominated by non-family members. So that is already like the first important step we made as a family to somehow see that the business is something we have to manage in a way that it's also independent from not very well thought through decisions single family members could come up with along the way. Because these guys we're electing, the non-family members, are well-equipped, well-trained, often known figures in the German business world. So they don't want to be played around with. They have a job then. Their job is to be a director. And the most important job they have is then to elect the management board. So I've been elected or selected by mainly by a board that is mainly dominated by non-family members.
But then I guess you have checks and balances there. So you also need to control for quality. That to be honest, I'm an investment banker, and once I was in a job where my boss had this great idea that let's only hire the clients' kids for summer interns, and some of them were really horrible. I mean, you couldn't even make them do profiles. It was just a pain, and I felt really pissed off with this kind of a nepotism. So I guess you need to have some kind of checks for nepotism, so that people that get selected in the business roles, they have some quality.
First of all, yes, we have that. I think if you don't have that as a family business, at least if you have a business of in the size of ours, you're in trouble. It's not a good idea. So I think, but on the other hand, we cannot neglect that there is a family, right? So I often think that thinking about family business is about dealing with paradox in a sense. On the one hand, we want to focus completely on those who are capable and well-trained and can do a great job. On the other hand, we have to admit that it's our job to make all the shareholders understand very deeply what the business is about. So yes, we allow and encourage young shareholders to come in for a year for internships, Like my kids, they're working in the post office, for instance, when they were students, when they were still in school, for instance, to make some extra money. So on the one hand, we somehow allow to learn more about the business, and then we open a door, but not further than that. Next level is that someone in the company has to say, okay, we would like to hire that person. And here it's important to know that Klett is a decentralized organization. So it's not like one monolithic limited company. It is 120 companies, and all the management in all the different 120 companies is super independent. So people would not ask for or think about hiring a family member who was first of all an intern if they're not thinking, okay, this person can really help. We would like to hire him or her. So our idea is like, okay, open the door a little bit, learn about the business. But the very moment you want to have a career here, there must be someone within the company that endorses you, and most likely not a family member. And that works out quite well. People often don't believe me that it works like that, but it works like that.
I was more thinking of the top levels, so then it gets serious, I guess.
Okay, that's even harder because there is some kind of a checklist. So if you as a family member want to have a career within the Klett Group, you have to show better 2 than 1 academic degrees. You have to speak 2 foreign languages. You have to work for other companies for several years before you have the opportunity to apply for that kind of job. And at the end, to become part of the management board, you have to run one of the 4 branches of Klett at least for 5 years. Or you have to have a similar experience outside of the Klett Group. Before that, you cannot apply for the job. And when I'm saying, what does it mean apply for the job is, as a stock company, a non-traded stock company, we have to adhere to certain rules. So the management board, which is dominated by non-family members, they could hire whoever they want. So they could hire also a family member that does not that is not following those rules. But we installed the rule that you as a family member cannot apply for it before you didn't check off all these points from your list.
So
if you do, you might risking being thrown out of the circle of shareholders.
So you control that on the shareholder agreement level.
Exactly.
Yeah, but that sounds almost too strict then. But I guess somebody thought it's better to be strict than
I'm not so. I think it has an incredible effect because. Normally in family businesses or in a family that's owning a family business, you have all the time the problem that people don't know, am I not selected because I'm not good enough? Or am I not selected because old family feuds, old family issues? My uncle doesn't want to have me working here because he had already trouble with my father, stuff like that. When you have these kind of rules, people grow up thinking already about themselves. Do I want to go down that way? Do I really want to work that hard? How can I do that? I mean, at a certain point, I had to learn Latin and ancient Greek in school. So I was missing the second language. So I moved to France and I was living there for a while to learn French. So, and I have other family members who were working for, I have one other family member. She was working for Klett and she decided to leave the company to work somewhere else because she knew she could not tick that experience off the list, which is a good thing. So I feel it does something good to the next generation because they have to think about themselves. Do I want that?
Yeah, I have to, as an aside, I have to introduce you to Juhana Torkki. I wrote the Negotiation Handbook, and my co-author, he has translated Seneca's works from Latin and Plutarchus's work from the ancient Greece. So he's a cool guy. Mm-hmm. But sounds very interesting. So you have a kind of a shareholder level, and then these board levels, and then the management and the work level in the company, and a lot of subsidiaries. And I was thinking just on this selection method. Normally you have annual general meetings, but sounds like is your period of selecting the people, is it 1 year or more?
You mean in the family council
yes,
or in the...
both.
Okay, so let's start. So shareholders, we are normally until we die, right?
Okay.
And then the family council, which is like that is the let's say the management board of the family partnership, that is elected for 3 years. In the past, it was for 5 years, but we changed that. Why? Because we want to have as many members of the family having that experience to be in that board. So we have now constantly young people coming in and learning about how to manage a family, what to focus on, how to take care of the training of the young generation, stuff like that. So we wanted to have that board with a little bit more like change and people coming in and out. So we have more and more, family members knowing what it means to manage the family. The board of directors, the supervisory board, is elected for 5 years. It's elected for 5 years. So, and then they select the management board, and then it's an individual decision. It depends a little bit. Like sometimes, I mean, I myself, I got it first. They gave me a 3-year contract, and then recently they told me that I would get it. It will be prolonged, which made me very happy. So I'll have now a 5-year contract, something like that. So it's often an individual decision.
And then on the division level, so subsidiaries level, you have then managing directors, I would guess, and each company according to the jurisdiction.
Yeah, that's. I mean, we organized the Klett Group in 4 silos, and because 120 companies and in 25 countries, it's you have to somehow find good, especially in a decentralized organization. So we somehow clustered them in a way we can work with them.
Yeah, I mean, I am an investment banker, so we did this one deal with Studeo, but then in Germany, you have this huge SAP software company, and the Finns get quite a lot of joyous press that Pekka Pietilä from the Nokia got selected to be the chairman of the supervisory board, and the SAP has had a bit of a strong leaders, and sometimes they did this one acquisition in the USA. It's now my
Qualtrix or something.
Qualtrix,
like
that. And that was I understand from the. I was in the M&A training. Some Swiss professor came to Finland to teach us all the business school people that was a Mormon-owned company in Utah, and then it has a super strong insider culture, family culture built around with the religious practices, and SAP tried very hard, but kind of running the German mentality, engineering mentality with the kind of a that didn't work, and then the private equity bought it out. But I guess that's another complications. Sort of you need to have some kind of exit strategy. I guess somebody wants to leave, needs money for selling shares, or that can happen, or might even have to leave for various reasons. The shareholding structure, but I guess over time you need to have some kind of mechanism that you won't just become a 500 company conglomerate. So you need to, I guess, have control both the business, it stays kind of focused, and manage the M&A, and then you have to have some kind of mechanism for allowing exits, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is maybe one of these paradoxes. Like, on the one hand, it's all about survival. And on the other hand, in order to survive, you will have to allow some kind of a partial end. Yeah, you have to be able to let people go who don't want to stay with you, without encouraging it, somehow allowing it in a sense. So I think this like being very strict about, hey, we'll stay together, but if someone really wants to go, we'll find a way, something like that. So we have to. It's all the time, I think, in family business about finding this kind of balance. We as a family say we want to be a family business. So the leading perspective is survival, how to act that we are as resilient as possible. What means also that we have to grow, because the competitive arenas we're in, we will not survive if we stay small. So Klett is maybe one of the fastest growing educational companies in Europe, as far as I know. So we doubled our size in the last 10 years, I guess, something like that. So we have to grow, and we have to, at the same time, stay resilient. As a family, we have the possibility to pay off those who want to leave, and it never happened. Actually, it happened that partially someone said, "Okay, right now I have another business idea, and I want to follow that business idea, and how can we make that possible?" And then we found a way. But this is a very harmonic and rational process. Selling the company is not an option for us. Therefore, I have very strong opinions about families that decide to sell to private equity. But I don't know if you want to hear them. So.
Yeah, no, it's a fair point. I mean, it's a bit of a sad. I think mostly in Finland it's because there's no... Either the shareholding gets scattered, or then there's no growth capital to allow for the company to become truly international. Because if you only have a few tens of millions of turnover, it's a risk, big risk, and then so people rather take the liquid money, and then it's quite easy then to manage just as a financial holding company liquid stocks in US indices and stuff. So I have some understanding on that one, especially if you have a trouble passing on the ownership to the younger generation, and you might, once you start getting close to dying, you might see, well, hey, it's better to give liquid funds to them than the shares. And that's a bit sad. I'm in a board of this family-owned company, Fredman Group, and we invited a small private equity company, nice and cozy, Corona Invest, nice guys. It's to be co-shareholder in the business, and the main reason for that is to enable the growth, global growth, or international growth, because just with the family shareholders, it would have been you would have to do it with the fixed the debt funding, and that can go wrong, and then it's a bit of a gamble. But now we're talking about the 30 million euro turnover company. I guess you have a 1.5 billion or something like
1.1,
that. Yeah. So it's a completely different scale.
I mean, there can be good reasons business-wise to say, okay, we either grow or we die, and we need the right capital to do that. The family can do it. That makes a lot of sense. We're in a privileged positions because we're doing education. So in education, it's not always about scale, actually. It's because education is very local. So here in Finland, for instance, with our company Studeo, we're completely and 100% aiming at what the Finnish school needs. And it would never cross our mind to think, oh, actually, we have something interesting from the Netherlands you could work with, because education is local. That's I'm absolutely. So we're not in that kind of situation that we somehow have to play a game we can't play, in a sense.
I guess you could have a what do you call a family office. So I guess you pay dividends, and some people have more needs for dividends than the others, and so you could create a layer where you leave some capital with kind of the wealth management type of investment. That I guess could be one variation of your ownership structure.
I mean, like our philosophy is our idea as a family is that, if possible, family members should not live off their dividends. We put a lot of energy in encouraging the young generation to have a good education, find their own jobs, being independent. That is the idea. It not always works, and we are very. The dividends are not very high. We try to keep as much profit as possible in the company. So it's not that you have a crazy life if you're a shareholder here. So and that's our ideal. It's not an idea. It's not our idea that the business is here to sustain crazy lives of super rich people, and that's not how it works. And that's why we're successful as a family business, because we have the funds and we have the growth and we have the capabilities to develop this company further. And like for instance, in the early 2000s, we believed that the internet could kill us. You know, when you're in publishing, you meet all the time people who tell you, oh, actually, you're still alive? I thought you're dead already. You know, there's a CD-ROM. There will be no books. There is the internet. There is social media. You'll be dead. Or now ChatGPT. Like, people call me, I'm so sorry that you're dead soon, something like that. So in the early 2000s, we thought, like, okay, the internet might kill us. But as a family business, we thought, okay, but what could be a brick and mortar business that could save us? And so we started with kindergartens and schools. And now we're the second largest private provider of kindergartens in Germany, and both worked out, the publishing and but it was the idea of survival. How can we make this companies resilient? And we can only do that because we have a family in our back that supports that, and they're supporting it by leaving most of our profits in the company.
Yeah, no, it's a good to keep the profits for the growth and help the economy in a real way. And both of those areas sound a bit politically risky in a sense that kindergartens, I guess the government could just decide to change the rules and so on. So that's not without risk, I guess. But
I mean, for instance, when you're telling me that here in Finland, inheritance tax is an issue.
Yeah,
it's something I mean, we have that in Germany, but they have special rules designed for family businesses because it is in the government's interest to have owners of companies that have a long-term perspective and that are citizens citizens in real places. They feel responsible for what they do. So family businesses are, in most cases, good shareholders, good citizens who have a deep interest in taking good care of what they have and what they inherited. So disencouraging families by imposing taxes on them is stupid.
Yeah.
And what is the alternative? The alternative is having super only on profit maximization, focusing private equity companies, cold-blooded investor types, Anglo-Saxon investor types who are focusing on squeezing the maximum out of companies. Like, okay, I might a bit unfair here, but I feel it's one of the biggest strengths of the German economy to have like this mid-sized family-owned business sector that gives the greatest stability and strength to our economy. And countries do good by developing an environment where these companies can thrive, and inheritance tax is stupid.
Yeah,
when it comes to this point.
Any
other point I understand, but at this point it's stupid.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that, and not necessarily the private equity part, because if you don't have a capital, then that's better than not having any capital. But the inheritance tax in Finland works so that people have to pay even sometimes 19% of the tax on the illiquid shares they inherit, and then that basically then they need to even find a way to sell the shares to get that money to pay the tax. And the normal Swedish way is that you inherit without the inheritance tax, but if you sell, then you inherit also the low tax base, so your tax on the selling the shares is then higher, and that's the usual way to do it, and that's why Sweden is so much richer than Finland. And
let's tax the people when they're selling the shares, and not when they're inheriting it.
Yeah, and now this very clearly creates a mechanism where there's a strong incentives to discontinue owning once you get turned to 60 or something, and you start worrying that can my children receive the shares and scrape the money to get the assets, or you try to put it in the liquid form that your kids can pay the inheritance tax, and it's stupid. We have another mechanism, which is the pension systems, and that's also system where we put money in this collective pool, which is quite well funded. But then once you die, your kids don't inherit any of the capital. So that's and it's built that way. It's not necessarily a bug, it's a feature, but it also means there's no capital accumulation from that system. You only get income as a pensioner. And when we have those two things, inheritance tax and this quite weird way to arrange the pension, that means that we don't have much private capital in Finland. That's really pisses me off.
And I mean, when I'm listening to you, I'm thinking, okay, you can that is one perspective on a family business, and that you say, okay, this is something that will sustain the life of my kids and my grandchildren. I think for me, the leading thought is, how can I help my children, my nieces and nephews, their children, my grandchildren, to be good owners? So what can I do to equip them with the knowledge and the experience to be good in supporting a business, like by understanding what it does, by be ready if there are tough decisions to be made, to make sure that a few gifted ones and want to work in the family council or in the supervisory board, something like that. So our job is to create a healthy business and to pass it on to the next generations, and that comes first. And of course, support, like benefiting from dividends, is an important factor. But that's not the leading point. Like, it's not about everybody is just fine. Yeah, I mean, people should work and take care of their own lives, and then there's an extra.
Yeah, and
like
I completely agree with the ownership skills. I mean, people think ownership is like just owning index shares, that it's somehow very passive, but it's very different from the actually owning a corporation, which is a living organism and has a strategy and growth and good face extinction, and so you need to have a sharp owners who can also direct the company.
No.
Well, it sounds like a great system. I think I propose we go to the inside episode for the subscribers, and I understand despite your great system, sometimes there are kind of a tiebreakers. So you have devised the mechanism for that.
I want to explain something that if family business understand that, it could increase the survival rate many 100%.
And other topic is, I understand you like to work with the chainsaws, and finally you have now developed some liking of the Finnish culture.
Finland somehow took me away. So we bought the Kaurismäki complete edition.
So I think we have a little bit of a chat over those three topics.
Okay. So I understand that is now the private, like for your private subscriber, like your fan base of.
Yeah, that's thanks fan base. So the extra, I have my personal YouTube relationship manager who said that I have such a big enough subscriber base that I should offer this as an extra service, and,
okay.
And I like it. It's a bit of a getting fun extra. So I'll propose you join the Insider episode with us.